بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد. Okay, we have quite a number of questions. I'm just going to quickly go through them. All right, so what are the rules for taking shahada? Are witnesses required? So firstly, witnesses are not a requirement for someone to accept Islam or for someone's Islam to be valid. It's sufficient that a person pronounces the Shahada and the articles of faith. And if witnesses happen to be there, that would be a good thing. And the reason being is just so that people know that this new person who's coming to the masjid now, he's not just somebody who's coming to the masjid for the sake of coming. Because usually when new people come to the masjid, there are brothers in the masjid that always ask and inquire that, who is this new guy? And, they're all, it's our habit to be up in other people's business. So it would probably be a good thing that when somebody accepts Islam, that there are witnesses present, but it's not a requisite for the validity of a person's Islam that witnesses are present. It's sufficient that they pronounce the articles of faith, and this brings them into the fold of Islam. Okay. When preparing an Islamic will, is a certain percentage designated to give masjids and madrasas? So when preparing an Islamic will, it's not a requirement to give anything, right? It's recommended, it's mustahab, it's desirable to give a third of one's wealth. And according to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that even 1/3 is too much. So 33.33%, even that's too much to give as perpetual charity. So when preparing an Islamic will, a certain percentage, if a person desires a certain percentage to be designated to the masjid or madrasa or to any charitable foundation, wants to make an endowment, it shouldn't be more than 1/3. It can't be 1/3. It's not going to be honored. Islamically, it will not be honored and it will not be given any consideration. Another thing to keep in mind is that there is no wasiyah, there is no bequest for an heir. So someone who stands to inherit from someone, and the person who passed has written a bequest that my heir will receive this much in addition to what that person is already going to get, that additional amount is not going to be given any consideration, because it comes in hadith, la wasiyata li warithin. There's no wasiyah, there's no bequest for someone who stands to inherit from someone else. But back to the question, when preparing an Islamic will, it's recommended and it's desirable to allocate up to 1/3, not more than 1/3, to masjids, to madrasas, to any charitable foundation, but it's not wajib. If a person doesn't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Okay, is it permissible for Muslims to donate to a church? Can non-Muslims donate towards masjids or building masjids? It's a good question. It's not permissible for Muslims to donate to a church. And the reason being is that churches are places where ibadat, or their version of what they consider to be worship, is done. So basically, if a Muslim is donating towards a church, essentially what that Muslim is doing, he's donating towards a place where certain ibadah is being done, which is not considered, which we don't consider as ibadah. It's not sanctioned in our deen. It is not sanctioned in our deen. So it's not permissible to donate to a church. Vice versa, can a non-Muslim donate towards masjids or building masjids? As long as as long as that non-Muslim doesn't have any control over the masjid, in the sense that, this is how you should pray namaz, and this is the direction that you should face. I mean, all of the internal stuff should be Muslims' responsibility. So it would be okay if that is the case, where a non-Muslim is donating and he doesn't have any say in the masjid. That's fine. It would be okay to accept that donation. It would be okay to use that money to build a masjid even, but it's not permissible for Muslims to donate to a church, to a synagogue, to a mandir, or any of these places where people do ibadah, people engage in worship, which our Sharia, which our deen has not sanctioned and not allowed, because we're basically supporting a place of worship where our Sharia really doesn't recognize that as worship. But if a non-Muslim donates towards a masjid or building a masjid, that's fine, as long as the non-Muslim is not controlling what is going on internally so far as the ibadah and worship is concerned. Okay, is it permissible to consume animals that have been stunned and slaughtered? So usually what happens is that with larger animals such as cows, right, or camels. Well, camels is a little bit easier, but specifically cows. I believe this is done on Amish farms, larger industries. They have a special pen where they corral the cow into that pen, and they make the cow go through this fence where the neck area it becomes stuck, and basically at that point, the cow is slaughtered. And this is how the cow is slaughtered. But in Amish farms where they don't have this kind of mechanism, what happens is they take the animal, they take a 22 gauge shotgun, they shoot it between the eyes. It's stunned. It doesn't die. Research shows that it stays alive for about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. At that point, if a Muslim slaughterer comes and slaughters the animal from ear to ear, cutting all four vessels, it would be halal. The animal would be halal. It would not be considered as carrion. However, because this animal has taken a great amount of injury, all of the blood, it doesn't really come out, because the signals that are being sent to the brain, where the body is bleeding, those signals are not immediately recognized, and as a result, what happens is the animal doesn't bleed as much. Now, when the animal doesn't bleed as much, there is quite a bit of blood that is still left inside the body of an animal. So, at most, it would be halal for consumption, but not recommended. I think there would be some sense of karaha. There would be some degree of karaha, some degree of it being undesirable to consume that meat, because the whole objective of slaughtering the way we slaughter is that every drop of blood is drained out. That's why we slaughter over here. We slaughter specifically from the neck, cutting those four vessels, the two carotid arteries, as well as the windpipe and esophagus. It's all about bleeding the animal out completely. So all the najasa, all the impurities of the animal, they're completely removed with the blood. So as far as this question is concerned, I mean, this would apply to larger animals. As I said, the animal would be halal if done in this manner, but I would say there would be some degree of karaha, there would be some degree of repugnancy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Is it haram to wear makeup for both women and men? Nothing wrong with wearing makeup for women. As far as men, wearing makeup. I mean, this is a new one. What are we talking about? Are we talking about like bronzers? What Donald Trump, what he puts on? Are we talking about that? So if it's bronzer or something, I mean, this is not. I wouldn't say it's prohibited. I guess some people want to look perpetually tan throughout the entire year. So if it's something like that, it's fine. But if we have to draw the line somewhere. So it's not like a man can go and start putting on lipstick and stuff and mascara. I mean, that's just weird, and it shouldn't be done. But in essence, for women to wear makeup, there's nothing wrong with it. Men, I mean, if you're talking about bronzer and stuff, okay, yes, sure, it would be okay. But we got to draw the line at lipstick and mascara. Can zakat be given before one lunar year lapses? Yes, absolutely. So when a person is sahib nisab, when a person has reached the quantum of nisab, that is when zakat is triggered. So if a person gives zakat in the month of Ramadan and he wants to give zakat before the month of Ramadan comes in, absolutely, it's fine. You calculate how much you will have by Ramadan and give zakat accordingly 2-3 months before. It's not an issue. If a mayyit bleeds from the nose, so if a deceased bleeds from the nose, does that mean that the mayyit has attained the rank of shaheed? There's nothing like that in our deen. There's nothing like that in our religion where it's mentioned that if somebody who has passed bleeds from their nose, then that person has attained the rank of shaheed. There's nothing like that, and nor is it stated anywhere in hadith. It's definitely not in the Quran, but it's not mentioned in hadith as well. So this is something, I bet it's probably an old wives' tale, which people just disseminate, and ultimately what happens is that it just becomes part of the society, and people, they have not really researched into it, and as a result, sometimes things become canon like this as well. Okay. Can Quran be read between Asr and Maghrib? Absolutely, Quran can be read between Asr and Maghrib. What cannot be read between Asr and Maghrib is Nafil. So after Fajr Salah to sunrise, and after Asr Salah to Maghrib, one cannot engage in any Nafil Salah. But as far as Quran is concerned, there's no issue. You can read Quran anytime during the day. Anytime during the day and night, one is permitted to read the Quran. There is no restriction whatsoever when it comes to recitation of the Quran. The restriction comes in Nafil Salah. So one cannot read Nafil Salah after the Fard prayer in the morning, Fajr, and after the Asr prayer, one cannot read Nafil. Can you buy Qadiani products from grocery stores? Better not to. It's better not to buy Qadiani products at all. As Muslims, we consider them zindiq. We don't consider them as Muslims. They are pretenders when it comes to Islam. They're not considered as real Muslims. Thus, we should not engage in any business transactions with Qadianis. It would not be permissible. As I said, they are zindiqs. They don't believe in the finality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is a fundamental doctrine. Believing in the finality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a fundamental doctrine according to our deen, according to our religion. So anyone who says or believes that there is a prophet by the name of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, that person is considered a zindiq. That person is not considered a Muslim. And one should not engage in any type of buying and selling or buying their products in stores. As a matter of fact, the grocery store should be told that such and such item is a Qadiani product, and you should not be selling this. This is our job, and this is what we should inform the grocery stores. All right. It is very hard to control the cow at the times of slaughter. What should be done? As I said, usually and I've seen this in Amish farms, they take a 22 shotgun and they shoot it between the head, right? In slaughterhouses, in modern day abattoirs and slaughterhouses, they corral the cows, or they corral the cow one at a time inside a small pen. And what happens is that the neck, it automatically is inserted into this mechanism where the cow cannot get out. So it's completely at the mercy of the dhabih, of the slaughter. So then it's very easy for the dhabih, for the slaughter, to just cut the animal, to horizontally cut from ear to ear. The question arises, this question I'm assuming arises from when people are slaughtering, not in our conventional slaughterhouses, but on farms where they don't have this kind of mechanism. So this poses a genuine problem. So what normally happens is that, and I've seen this, that the Amish guy, I used to go to this Amish farm and I saw this, I witnessed this, where some Muslims were there and they were trying to tame the cow and bring it to the ground, but they were unable. So the Amish guy just takes this 22 shotgun, small caliber bullet, and shoots the cow between the eyes. Cow just instantly drops, and the guy quickly takes his knife and cuts horizontally. So you have, as I said, the two carotid arteries need to be cut, the esophagus and the windpipe, and obviously Bismillah has to be pronounced. So as I said, research shows that the cow remains alive about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the size. So slaughter should be done quickly as possible, and it would be halal to consume that. It would be halal to consume that animal if slaughtered using this method. Not an ideal method, but it would be halal. I would say there is some degree of karaha, and that's because I'm only saying this because the brain is damaged. And the body is sending signals to the brain. So there is a possibility that all of the blood is not completely being drained out. And the whole objective and purpose of dhabiha is that the blood of the animal should be completely drained out. And this is why the best method of slaughtering the animal, and the quickest way and the most merciful way to slaughter the animal, is our normal Islamic way, where we cut from ear to ear, sharp knife, just one swift cut, not like a person has a blunt knife and has to go back and forth like a saw. This is inappropriate. One should have a sharp utensil, a sharp knife, and it should be done in one shot. Yes, I mean, there is going to be that issue of the cow being. I mean, there might be some health issues with that, but from a strict Sharia point, I would say it's halal. But again, there would be that degree of karaha as far as the slaughter is concerned, simply because all of the blood is not being drained. I mean, this brings me to another issue. I mean, this is kind of a side issue, where in modern day slaughterhouses, instead of doing the horizontal cut, right? Horizontal cut from ear to ear, they employ the use of the vertical cut. So the vertical cut is like this. So it's nahar. So nahar is what they use for camels. So because camels are really large animals, they take a small knife and they stab the animal at the base of the neck, and they sever all four vessels. Now, you can do nahar with larger animals, with a cow, for example, but the problem is that it doesn't cut all four vessels. So because it doesn't cut all four vessels, the animal doesn't completely bleed out. So it's called the vertical cut, or the European cut. I would say that's problematic because all the vessels are not being cut. There is a difference amongst the imams, amongst the four madhahib, as to how many vessels should be cut according to the Hanafi school. As long as 3 of the 4 are cut, the animal is halal. According to the Maliki school, I believe it's a requirement, it's wajib for the windpipe or the esophagus to be cut. And according to the Shafi school, again, I think it's wajib for them to have the windpipe or the esophagus cut. That's something I would need to look at, but it is a requirement according to them. Hence, if that is not cut, if the esophagus or windpipe is not cut, then according to the Maliki school, according to the Shafi school, that animal is impure, it's carrion, it's maita. What type of stocks are not halal? Well, can't buy Budweiser or Coors or any stocks where they're involved in alcoholic beverages and stuff. So that would be straight up haram. I guess let's see, gambling, casino stocks, if they're available, that would also be problematic. You could buy Apple stocks, Google, Costco. As long as majority of the company is dealing in halal, it would be permissible to buy stocks. It would be okay to buy stocks as long as the company itself is it's halal, or majority of their products are halal. So if the products that they're selling are haram, or the majority of their products are haram, then no, we cannot purchase stocks from that company. Okay, any other questions? Any other question? I did get some additional questions today, but I'm not sure if the person would want it to be shared, so I'll have to get permission. Okay, if you disagree with someone and have decided to no longer associate with that person, yet this individual continues to seek always to contact you by all means, halal or haram, what should you do? I mean, it depends on why you have disassociated yourself from that person. I mean, if it's a family member and that family member is someone who's trying to maintain the ties of kinship, then we should give that person the time of day and mend ties with the individual. It would be a good thing. But if the person who's trying to connect with you or reconnect with you, this is a person that you feel is harming your Islam, harming your deen, then it's better that our relationship with such an individual is limited to salam and dua. Right? Assalamu alaikum, how are you? And khalas. That should be the extent of our relationship. And this is because the hadith clearly states al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi, that a person is on the deen of his friend, that a person is defined basically by the friends that he associates with. So if a person is associating with unsavory company, then eventually that company is going to rub off in a negative way. And if a person is associating with good company, positive company, jalisu salih, then inshallah that will benefit him in this world and it will benefit him in the hereafter. Okay. Any other questions? What is the ruling for cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency it's a contemporary issue. Thus, there's going to be contemporary scholars that have their opinions on this. So you have 2 camps over here. You have scholars who have prohibited cryptocurrency, and you have scholars that have permitted cryptocurrency. So I lean towards the direction of scholars who have opined that cryptocurrency is permissible to purchase, simply because it's considered a valid form of wealth. I mean, the same argument, for those who prohibit cryptocurrency, they say that it's not really currency. Well, you can apply that same logic to paper money. It's fiat money. It's no longer backed. I mean, the paper money that we hold in our hands, it's it's not backed by gold or silver any longer. So cryptocurrency is kind of the same thing as fiat currency. I think it's permissible to purchase cryptocurrency, and I'm not saying that the scholars who state that it's prohibited, they don't have a leg to stand on. They have their arguments, they have their opinion, and that's fine. It's good. Muslims should be passionate when it comes to halal and haram and what is lawful and what is unlawful. It's a good thing. It's healthy. But as I said, I lean towards the direction where it's permissible to and it's lawful for people to purchase cryptocurrency. And I don't really see an issue with it. I think it's similar to fiat money, paper money. It's not a problem. It's permissible. Okay. Any other questions before we close for today? Okay, so inshallah, send your questions by text or email or WhatsApp, and inshallah I'll get to them next week. Barakallahu feekum for everyone who stopped by. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us all, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our endeavors for his sake. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.